and are not? Who are those?
Okay.
I already know what this guy's
I
can
answer
Well, hold on. Let's
I-
recenter. Let's recenter the conversation. Go ahead, Mr. Kit, with the Catholic Church and how it didn't exist before 500. Let's hear it.
Well, have you ever heard of the Codex Vaticanus?
No, you asked where I got the idea that that the first 10 popes were Jewish. I got that from a Roman Catholic priest that I served with when we founded El Paso Peace Presence, the Border Peace Presence, I'm sorry, in El Paso, Texas. It was founded by me and a bunch of priests and nuns, and we studied together for a long time.
And you just believed
What
them and didn't do
century?
research?
So the Latin Vulgate, what church commissioned that to be written by Jerome?
The Holy Roman Catholic Church. What about the Codex
Well,
Vaticanus?
the term Roman Catholic Church did not exist until the 13th century. So, yeah, you can't say that.
But they used Catholic extremely early on.
Yeah, to mean universal. Yeah, the
Yeah.
term Catholic to mean universal was definitely used early on. Nobody's denying that.
Right, but they have councils, like even in the Carthage Council, like they appeal at times to even the bishops in the Bishop of Rome to say revelation of Scripture. And that's
Can
around.
you just shut up
400
so I can make a point?
Yes.
The Codex Vaticanus, 4th century. The name Vaticanus, what does that mean, class? Hello, Catholics.
It
Come on,
means
you know this.
it means it was found in the Vatican many centuries later. It wasn't called Vaticanus in the beginning, if that's what you think.
So every secular scholar that says that it was compiled in the 4th century, you disagree or you agree?
No, I didn't say anything about when it was compiled. I'm saying it wasn't called Vaticanus.
That's why I asked you a question.
Whatever it has
That's why I
to do
asked you a
with-
question. That's called the question.
Did you want an answer, or did you just want to yell at me and interrupt?
Did you want to complain about my question and act like it's not a question?
So it wasn't called Vaticanus when it was written. That's the point. When it was found many centuries later, and Vatican City did exist when it was found many centuries later, then, of course, it was given a name based on where it was found.
Are we talking about the Catholic Church or the Vatican City? Like, as being like a literal place on the map, Vatican City as a geographical entity.
No, what he's saying is that it's named after the place it was found in, not the place it was written in.
There wasn't
Yeah,
a Vatican City when it was compiled. That's a historic fact as well.
It's like,
Yeah.
for example, if somebody wrote a scripture in Turkey before it was named Turkey, and then 20 years later they define it as Turkey and redraw the lines, then they find the scriptures and then they call it the Turkish Delight or whatever. That's what he's saying is going on here. That it was not called the Vatican at the time that it was written. Later, when they found it and the Vatican had already formed, they named it after the Vatican where they found
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying. When Jerome gets ready to do this translation, he doesn't say, I'm going to do a translation of the scriptures and I'm going to call it Vaticanus. No, he doesn't do that at all. He just does a translation of the scriptures. He probably doesn't even name it. I don't know of any name on it.
The
I've read
Latin
it.
Vulgate was written with Jerome and Jerome and Augustine had a whole discussion on it, and Jerome had been appointed to create this by the Catholic Church in Rome. I mean, I don't know what even is being fought over.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a council before this whole 5th century thing's brought up.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go bring in my dogs, but I will tell you what's being fought over. So, the term Catholic means universal, and so there's the idea that everybody who's a believer is part of the universal church, and so the term Catholic was used long before there was an organized Catholic Church, and so that's what's being fought over. The Catholic Church was
Can I say
founded.
something real quick?
Okay.
It's pretty
Yeah,
organized.
go ahead
nice,
because
yeah.
I'm leaving. I'm not going to sit here and be
Yeah, I noticed
interrupted every
something,
time.
bro. I noticed something. I want to say something real quick. People on Discord, right? They find the most interesting words in the vocabulary to describe whatever,
Dude,
and
he's
have
drunk.
fights
Can
on
we get a
Discord
mute?
about everything,
Is that
but they
that
lack in.
Xenos guy? Is that that Xenos guy?
Sure as heck seems like it.
I think it's that crazy Xenos guy.
Was that Xenos?
Probably.
So
Yeah,
who
yeah.
was Jerome baptized by, guys? Do you know?
That's a good question, though. So who was Jerome baptized by?
Pope Liberius. And if you go to the end of his Wikipedia page, it says after the death of Emperor Constantinus in 361, Liberius annulled the decrees of that assembly. But with the concurrence of the bishops Athanasius and Hilary of Poitiers, he retained the bishops who had signed and then withdrew their adherence in 366. Liberius gave favorable reception to the deputation of the Eastern Episcopate and admitted into his communion the more moderate of the Arian party. He died on 24 September 366. Here's the important part. Some historians have postulated that Liberius resigned the papacy. That's an interesting word, the papacy there, in 365 in order to make sense of the pontificate Felix II, who has since then been who has last sentence who has since then been last sentence who has since been regarded as an anti-pope. So the papacy existed as a concept when the guy who baptized Jerome was alive, and you're saying Jerome wasn't a Catholic? And what are the chances of that?
Beep beep beep.
I always assumed that he was, and that he was commissioned by the Catholic Church to translate the Latin, the Greek scriptures into Latin, and that was called the Latin Vulgate.
You just said 8th
The
century.
point
Somebody
is
said
that Jerome is the one that called the 7 extra books that aren't part of the Bible the Apocrypha.
Was he a Catholic?
I think he was.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
okay. So you disagree with Mr. Kit. All right.
Well, it's not that I disagree with Mr. Kidd. I just see things differently.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna
everyone
try.
knows that
I'm gonna
scholars
try
know
that one on my girlfriend next time. I don't disagree with you. I just see things differently. Let's see if that
right,
works.
and scholars know Jerome was wrong for a reason why the Deuterocanon, why he rejected them, was he thought they had to be they weren't originally in Hebrew, but we know like he didn't have the Dead Sea Scrolls. We found the Dead Sea Scrolls, Sirach, Tobit, all in Hebrew. Jerome's wrong.
Yeah, people always make up fake words for false doctrines.
Yeah, I just made up the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, deuterocanonical.
That's what they're called way before Jerome.
A longer canon when you translate it in English, like Deuterocanon, longer canon, longer scriptures.
And same with the Jews had different ideas with scripture, and they debated it for a long time. So the Dead Sea Scroll Jews definitely saw Enoch as scripture. They saw these Deuterocanon books as scriptures, and that's reality. You know what you're talking about. But
Your mic is absolutely garbage right now, heretical. Heretic.
And they, the
who
Mormons,
cares?
see the Book of Mormon as scripture.
Heretic, your mic is trash.
I could put one of the leading scholars, John Lee MacDonald, on the scripture, and he's going to say how like Jews had different views that the Deuterocanon was scripture. Same with Christians, and the most earliest views, Wisdom 2 quotes the New Testament, referring to a prophecy of Jesus. That's why even in these shorter canons, some Protestants will bring up, will have wisdom in there because wisdom was so central as a prophecy about Christ, and it's more clear than Isaiah 53, I think.
Okay, so sorry, but like I said earlier, which my mic was doinked. there was Pharisees and